What's the purpose of work? Why do I even need to work?
I hated that job.
Is deeply anti-work.
An entire generation pumping gas.
It's about stopping working.
It sounds like maybe people are just being lazy. Are you encouraging people to be lazy?
There is a movement online that is gaining popularity amongst disenfranchised workers who are struggling with jobs where they are not paid enough, not given enough work flexibility, and simply not treated with the level of respect that should be afforded to every human being. The anti-work movement. Now, I have been both accused and congratulated on a lot of my videos for championing the anti-work agenda. Accused by people who think the idea of simply not working is a stupid idea, and congratulated by people who think that sitting back and doing nothing is the best way to stick it to the man. I am making this video to tell you that they are both kind of right and both very wrong. I want to make it clear that I am not an anti-work advocate. Just last month, I was working as an investment banker, which is about the most corporate sellout job you could probably think of. It was also incredibly hard work. The rumors are true. Most people in my office worked at least 80 to 90 hours a week. You wouldn't have time for anti-work dreams because you didn't have time to sleep in between creating pitch decks. As a counterpoint, I also want to say that the anti-work movement makes some very good points when you scratch away the surface of people not wanting to work because work is hard and boring.
Your job sounds awful.
Well, of course it's awful. It's a job.
So it's time to learn how money works to find out what the anti-work movement gets right and what it gets horribly wrong. This week's video was made possible by Brilliant. Learning new ideas can be tricky, and while lectures and books are great resources, there really is no substitute for being able to test things out for yourself in an interactive way. Brilliant makes this possible for a range of highly relevant online courses. Neural networks and artificial intelligence are becoming more and more integrated into business operations every day, but not many people understand how they work, and even a basic understanding of these systems is a highly prized skill set. If you try learning about these systems by yourself though, you are likely to be met with books and online lessons that are either way too basic or way too advanced. That's if you are lucky enough to find anything at all that is still relevant in this rapidly developing field. Alternatively, you could take Brilliant's practical lesson on neural networks and quickly form a deep understanding of how these amazing systems work in a way that will stick with you. To get started for free, visit brilliant.org/howmoneyworks or click the link in the description, and the first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Anti-work is a mostly online community for people that want to end work in the traditional 40-hour-per-week sense. Anti-work online posts primarily consist of people complaining about poor working conditions, calling out bad management, low pay, and occasionally making fun of corporate brown-nosers on LinkedIn. Now, at least that last part is something I can wholeheartedly get behind. The anti-work movement might be best known to people for a Fox News interview with the lead moderator of the anti-work subreddit, a webpage that has over 1.6 million like-minded anti-work members. The interview was not well received, and the bad publicity did a lot of damage to the more moderate supporters of anti-work ideas. Most people realize that we can't just sit back and do nothing. Our society functions by sharing the rewards and the burdens of work. Those rewards and burdens are definitely not always shared fairly, but unfortunately society requires a lot of tedious grind to operate effectively. Nobody particularly wants to do so, but it needs to get done. If you define the anti-work movement as the outright refusal to work, with the idea that the government or some other body will just support everybody, then it really is just crazy, and we might as well just end the video right there.
Hi, I'm a worthless employee, just like Homer Simpson. Give me a promotion!
But listening to the more moderate voices in this community is where the true value really lies. I had actually adopted a version of the anti-work mindset for my own career before it started taking off. This might not make much sense, especially since the 80-hour work weeks are the antithesis of anti-work, but hear me out on this. You can be anti-work, but still see the value in hard work. That value is essential to reminding yourself, your colleagues, and your managers that employment is not a one-sided relationship, where workers should be grateful for everything they got. Good hard work is a valuable thing, and it should be prized by good companies. Making businesses aware that they are not owed good work will encourage them to make the jobs of their employees as pleasant and rewarding as possible. If businesses refuse to meet the basic standards, then workers will always have the right to sit on their ass and do nothing, thereby denying the business its ability to produce an income. The workers might prefer an honest day's work. And I think most reasonable people agree that earning money to fund a comfortable lifestyle is preferable to subsisting off government programs, but it is always an option. If this is all sounding a bit hammer and sickle, that's kind of the point.
Oh my God.
In a way, the anti-work movement is a decentralized 21st century version of a workers' union, one that is only getting more powerful now that employee shortages are making it harder for businesses to endlessly churn through new recruits. Removing the stigma around people that are choosing to take time off work or cutting down on their hours is only going to make your own hard work more valuable, no matter how much of it you decide to exchange for a paycheck. When I quit my job to do YouTube full-time, I was still called crazy by a lot of people despite having almost every advantage going for me. I don't have a family to support, I come from an upper middle class background that I can fall back on in a disaster, and I wasn't quitting because I couldn't stand to work anymore. I was quitting to try and build a business. If people made me feel bad about forgoing traditional work, then it is obvious that people just expect people to work no matter what.
So you'll just work us to death?
We'll sure try.
The choice to take a step back from work is not an easy one for some people to make. For others, it's impossible. Anti-work may have its problems, but it's important for people to know that it's okay to take a step back if they need it. Doing so only makes it easier for everybody else. Now, I think the anti-work movement has personally taught me something really valuable about how to manage a career. Something that is ironically such a huge departure from the ideas of the more outspoken voices in the community that it probably sits on the exact opposite end of the political spectrum, if you believe that sort of thing. Anyway, if you are deciding how to best manage your career, stop thinking of yourself as a worker and start thinking of yourself as a company. A company with a duty exclusively to your shareholders, which is just yourself and your family. As a company, you will need to make money, and you can do that by working for other companies. A well-managed company should always be looking to work with businesses that pay them the most for their services they are offering. A well-managed company should also conduct market research to make sure that the services they are providing are in demand and are being compensated well. If your particular services are not, you as a company should seriously consider providing a different service or moving into an entirely different industry. No company is going to provide its services just because it feels a sense of loyalty to another company it's been working with. And here is the hardest part to follow. If you think of yourself as your own company, you have to understand that sometimes you are going to have to get a bit creative in how you market your company. Any company will tell you that a good recommendation goes a lot further than even providing the best service when it comes to attracting new business. If an employee uses this tactic to get a job, it might be called nepotism. A company would just call it word of mouth. Either way, it works. So you may as well use it to your advantage when you can. Now, this isn't totally an anti-work mindset. Sometimes your business is going to have to work around the clock to secure a lucrative contract. And sometimes it will make sense to relax your business operations a little. A smart business should not use more resources than it absolutely needs to. Navigating a career where you think employers and employees are on two different power levels is going to make you less likely to negotiate for what you are truly worth. If I agree with the anti-workers on just one thing, it is that work sucks.
Brad, for 14 years I've been a whore for the advertising industry. The only way I could save myself now is if I start firebombing.
Whatever. Management wants you gone by the end of the day.
It's something that we do because we have to. And since we have to do it, we should make sure that we are getting the most out of it that we possibly can. So, what is the greatest entity in existence for extracting as much value possible out of something? A corporation, of course. They are unashamedly soulless, heartless machines made to maximize profit. Instead of hating them, it's much more productive to learn from them and to always think to yourself, what would I do if I was a company? And the product I was selling were the hours in my day. Now, if you're going to be negotiating like a company, it will serve you well to do some client research. You can start by watching my video on why company management is always terrible. A big thanks again to Brilliant for making it possible for everybody to keep on learning how money works.
Get a job, sir! The bums will always lose! Do you hear me, Lebowski?